Hey everybody, welcome to the tutorial on how to paint spilling the tea. First, what I want to do is go over all of your tools, and then I'm going to take you about 50% through how to do the painting and leave you alone to create your own masterpiece. But I promise you'll feel like you have everything you need to complete the painting. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's go over your tools. You will have to get your own cup of water. Was not in your paint kit, so get a cup of water so you can clean your brushes. You should also have this little baggie here with your highly absorbent blue paper towel and your apron. And of course, I'm wearing a Paint with Angelique apron, and I'm Angelique for those of you who do not know. And you can get this apron too when you paint with me 10 times. You just send a picture of yourself, not yourself, just your paintings, and you can get an apron for painting with me, for being a loyal customer. And membership has its privileges. You get half off any one of my events every month. So how dope is that? So let me go over our tools. Still going over our tools. Gonna try to stay on track here, because those of you who know me know I will ramble on forever, and I'm not rambling. All your paints, which there's a lot of different colors. I don't know what you got. I'm hoping you got all these the same colors. If you don't, I'm gonna tell you how to mix colors, because there's a lot of colors going on here. You definitely have the primary colors and white and black, and then I threw some fun colors in there because I don't want you to have to mix paints. You also should have this Paint with Angelique cover sheet, which has a QR code on here that takes you to my YouTube channel. You're probably already on my YouTube channel, but if you're not, please scan this in your kit if I just sent you this video directly. And check out all the videos that I have available. I think there's about 60 or 70 of them. Isn't that crazy? In your paint kit too came a sponge brush and a pack of brushes, which I knew this would happen. I don't have right next to me. So I'm gonna run and get them. And I'm not gonna make you wait. I'm going to use some editing tools on this video, which I never usually do. So hold on. I'm back with the brushes. You get several different brushes, and I give you a sponge brush because I ran a special and I offered the big canvas, and it would be hard to paint some areas with these little tiny brushes. That's why you have a sponge brush too. Plus, I want you to play around with these brushes. They're pretty durable, and you can get some brush stroke lessons if you flip the package over and just take a look at that, okay? Okay, so we're gonna get into it because I'm not wasting any time. I want you to get started on this painting. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna paint the background, then we're gonna paint her beautiful brown skin, and then we're going to go on to paint the orange, and then we're gonna save the red and the black. We're gonna save the black and the white paint for last, okay? So I'm going into my bright green with my sponge brush, okay? Now, let's just say you don't have bright green in your kit. That might happen. If you don't have bright green in your kit, you're gonna take blue and yellow and make your own bright green, okay? And I'm just gonna show you real quick how easy that is. I'm scooping the bright blue that you probably have in your kit that looks like this. I scoop some of that paint out. I'm gonna wipe my brush off, and then I'm gonna scoop a little bit of yellow paint out. And I'm gonna show you how easy it is to make bright green. Even though you probably do have bright green, I'm just gonna show you how easy it is. Yellow and a little bit of blue, just a little bit of blue, okay? Into your yellow, just a little bit will give you a bright green, okay? If it's too dark, which I have a light up here. If it's too dark, add more yellow, okay? So that's the green that we're gonna use, bright green. You might even have a darker color green. If you have a darker color green, you're gonna mix a little bit of yellow in it. But most of you probably got bright green paint. If you have a dark green paint, use that and mix a little bit of yellow paint in it, and it'll make it a little bit brighter, okay? So those are the 3 different options that you might have in your paint kit. We have bright green, so I'm doing the background. I'm gonna go right into my, no water, into my bright green, and I'm trying to decide what side to be on, this side. And I'm gonna paint the background dark green. I mean bright green, bright green. And I'm going around her fro. If I cover it a little bit, that's okay. And I'm using the tip of the brush when I get close to her earrings and her arms and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you painted with me before, we always take a little paintbrush and we outline her. You can do that too. So I'm gonna bring the canvas a little bit closer so you can actually see what I'm doing a little bit better, and the camera a little bit closer, because I don't think you need to see me anymore. It's more about the painting. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. So I'm doing the background. If you want to, you can certainly outline her first. And if you're using the brush kit, this is a number 8. There's no numbers on the paint brushes. Number 8 is my favorite brush to work with. So you can outline everything first if you want, or you could just jump in with the sponge brush and outline everything, or paint in the tight spaces as you get to them. I'm working fast because it's a video, and you can always pause the video, right? So don't be mad. You also have a reference photo. Use the reference photo if you want the painting to look just like mine, but of course that's not the objective, right? But what we're gonna do with the reference photo, it helps us get into these little tight spaces, like that space on the other side of her earring, and then this little space right here is green, this little space behind her finger right there, this little space that's also green. And it's kind of hard to figure out those places if you don't use the reference photo. Now I'm just filling in the back, painting in the back. Again, I'm using this brush. If you have a smaller canvas, you may not have received a sponge brush, because I've tried to start deleting the sponge brush out of my kits. So if you don't have a sponge brush, you just use the biggest brush that you have to paint the background. I also want to give you another tip. If you're just starting to paint with me right now and you're watching this video, you might want to watch the video all the way through before you jump into painting, okay? Even if you've painted with me before, you might want to watch the video all the way through before you jump into painting. So my paint parties are designed, easy paintings that anybody can do in just 2 hours. I am going super fast because I just want to take you through everything you need to do, all right? And then I'm going to leave you alone to work out the details. Make sure you paint the sides of your canvas. That's called wrapping your painting, so you won't need a frame for your masterpiece. Okay, I'm just trusting that I'm doing that right. All right, so I'm done with that color. The next color I'm going to use is brown, because it's going to take probably a couple coats of brown on her face. So I'm just wiping off my paintbrush first, and then you can swish it around in your water like so. It's like so. Wipe it off again. The reason why I wipe my paintbrush off first before I swish it in the water is because I want to keep my water fresher longer. So try to wipe off the paint first, okay? So this is raw video right here, boy, but it works. Okay, so the brown. Again, look at your reference photo. We got her fingers, we got her face, and her neck. That's all the brown. I'm still working with the number 8 brush. That's the brush I use for the tight spots. If you want to use a different brush, you can. If you want to make her skin lighter, you're going to mix a little bit of white with the paint before you put it on the canvas. If you want it darker, you can mix a little of your dark blue, or you can just apply quite a few coats. I'm going straight out of the brown that you were given in your kit, and no water. I wiped my brush off pretty good, and then I went into the brown paint. I'm just outlining everything that's supposed to be brown so that I don't get confused when I'm painting it in. And now you can't use that sponge brush. By the way, don't put that sponge brush in the water. It's just going to muddy your water up, and we're pretty much done with that brush. But just lay it on your tray somewhere. I am painting over all of her features because your canvases are traced with marker, not acrylic paint, and the marker is going to rise above so that you can paint over the features with the acrylic paint later. Or some of my ladies cheat. I know y'all cheat and use a magic marker, which I don't like, but I want you to be happy with your painting. So if you want to get a paint marker, I prefer than if you use a Sharpie. But, you know, whatever makes you happy. Now, this paint that I'm using right now is getting a little sticky. I don't like the way that it's flowing. So I'm just trying to get the paint on her face first. And then I'm going to take a little bit of water in my brush, just a tiny bit, and try to even it out just a bit. It's not going to be even the way I want because I know I'm going to have to apply another coat. But the little tiny bit of water on my brush is going to help even out those splotchy areas. Now, if you are experiencing the paint being splotchy and it's not doing what you want it to do, just let it dry and put another coat over it, okay? That is my advice. Don't keep going over and over and moving the paint around. Just let it dry and apply another coat. Acrylic paints get bolder and more opaque, of course, as you apply coats. I'm adding water to my brush and moving the paint around a little bit, okay? I do have a wet brush, so I'm just going to go ahead and do her neck right above her turtleneck and get into her fingers. And again, I'm painting right over the marker. And I can go over that later. And her fingers, that's her fingernail up there, so be careful with that. Even though if you paint something a color by mistake, you just let it dry, put a little white paint on it, use the white paint as your eraser, and then go over it again with the color that you meant to put on there. So this is the first coat of brown. I almost painted her sleeve. That's orange or yellow. I mean yellow, not brown. Again, if you don't like the way this number 8 brush feels, switch the brushes until you get a brush that you feel comfortable with. So using the brown again on this side on her hand. Even though I got a little bit on her ring, that's okay. That's going to be gray right there, by the way, which is a little bit of black paint with the white paint, right? That's how we get gray. All right, so now I'm moving on to yellow. Usually we like to go lightest to darkest, but I like to use the brown, get the brown down as soon as I can, because I also want to apply another coat. So I know that I want to apply another coat. Okay, so yellow. I wiped off my brush, swished it around in the water, and now I'm going into my yellow paint. I'm going to do her earrings first. I'm going fast, y'all, for a reason. Remember, this is a video. You can pause it. Don't trip. And get all the colors down first, then work on the details. You know, like in the background there's actually, if you look at the reference photo, there's a blend of different color greens. So if you have dark green in your kit, you can apply some dark green brush strokes in the background. If you don't have dark green, you can mix a little bit of the blue paint with with your green and get a different color as well, a darker blue to contrast if you want to do some fancy stuff with the background, right? So I'm trying to brighten this up just a little bit, so you might hear me screwing around with the lighting. All right, so I don't know if this light angle is good or not, but I'm thinking that I want it to be a little bit brighter for you. So I hope that was helpful a little bit. All right. Next color, still working on yellow. I got distracted with the lighting. So when I'm working with a color now, I'm gonna add that color to the glasses in the top. So I'm just painting all willy-nilly, but I forgot I'm teaching. So I'm gonna outline it, and then what I want to be yellow, and then I'm gonna paint it in. All right. This side I'm gonna do the same, outline it and paint it in. Again, I'm painting fast because I want these tutorials just to be like 30 minutes. I don't want them to be like an hour. So, painting yellow on her turtleneck. And it's kind of like a little bit of orange mixed in there too. And we're gonna go over this yellow with a little bit of orange. I'm actually gonna mix a little bit of orange in my tray with the yellow and start blending it in a little bit. So I tell everybody, like, painting, this style of painting is just like coloring with a paintbrush. Don't stress out about it. Just enjoy the flow of the paint, okay? So I got the yellow down there, but if you look at the reference photo, it's like yellow and orange mixed together, right? So I am reaching for my tray here. I'm gonna scoop some yellow out into my tray, and then I'm gonna wipe off my brush, and I'm gonna scoop a little orange into that yellow and mix it up. So I'm mixing orange with my yellow right there and mixing it up a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I'm using the tip of my brush and adding a little bit of yellow and a little bit of water to blend a little bit. Now, maybe you want more yellow orange. As I'm looking at it and I'm looking at my reference photo, I want a little bit more orange. And I'm using the tip of my brush and I'm doing some vertical strokes to make it look like a turtleneck. But I'm gonna go back later once this paint dries. There's a little shadowing effect going underneath the turtleneck part of the sweater. So you might want to look at your reference photo on that and try to get the shadowing right, if there is a right and wrong way. Actually, I like to say I'm just adding a level of interest to the painting so it doesn't look so flat, right? So let's say you got your paint kit and you don't see orange. Do you know how to make orange? Red and yellow. Red and yellow make orange. I'm saying this just in case you don't have that, okay? All right. So I've mixed a little yellow orange in her sweater. We're gonna wait for that to dry, and then we're gonna put the details of her sweater on there and add a little shadowing effect right underneath her turtleneck, and we're gonna make it look like a turtleneck, okay? So when we're working with these colors, I wanna add them to my sunglasses. So I'm still working with the number 8 brush because I just like the way it feels in my hand. So I'm gonna take the yellow paint and I'm going to just do a little brush stroke. And you can look at your reference photo and see where you want to put these different colors, or you can just have fun with it. Now I'm not layering in them right now. I'm just adding the color, and then I'm going to put colors next to them, and once it dries, then I'm going to layer. So I just added a little yellow. I'm not looking at the reference photo, I'm just having fun. So I worked with yellow and I worked with orange. I'm going to go into my orange, and I'm going to add a little orange to her glasses. Right next to that yellow, maybe slightly overlapping, but try not to really overlap. All right. I think the glasses look fun already. Isn't she cute? Okay. Now, the next color I'm going to use is, what am I going to do next? I think I want to work with her eyes a little bit. Because I think I want to be on here long enough to show you how to do the eyes. And even though we're going back to brown, we're going to use a different brush. So I'm going to get any one of the smaller brushes that you have. I just happen to pick up the number 2 brush. I'm going to mix a little bit of brown in with white in my tray. And I am going to paint in her eye. Now, if you really take a look at your reference photos, there's 2 different colors of brown working on in her eyes. So I did that lighter color, and then I'm going to go directly back into the brown, and I'm just going to place a little bit of different color brown, just a darker brown that comes right out of the container. I'm going to put a little bit of that just in there. Again, look at your reference photo if you're not real sure to put where to put it. I just want a little variety in her eyeballs. And since I'm working with this little brush, I'm going to go ahead and do her lips too, which her lips are that light brown that I just did right there. I'm going to put on her lips, and if you want, you can add just a tiny, tiny bit, which I am, of red. Or you can make them red. I know a lot of my ladies like to always make red lips. I don't like to make red lips all the time. She has like a mauve lip. It's like a mauve color. It's a light brown with a little tiny bit of red. And I'm going to paint her lips. Oh no, how did I get blue in there? This is good, because if you make a mistake, I'm going to take my blue paper towel, which there are no mistakes, right? I'm just going to wipe it off. And I'm going to paint it. I'm going to paint over that white. I'm going to wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to fix her lip. So a little bit of white paint over there. And then I'm going to wait for it to dry. And I'm going to fix that. In the meantime, I can paint this side of her lip. So the white paint's like an eraser. Y'all with me on that? So there's something that I did that I don't want to call it a mistake, but it's kind of a mistake. I didn't paint inside of her glasses. That is brown too. That's her skin. So I'm going back with my number 8 brush. Maybe you caught that already and you did it the right way. But I'm going back with my number 8 brush, and I'm painting in her eyes. And since I have brown on my brush, I'm going to do that second coat of brown that I've been wanting, that I wanted to do anyway. So for those of you who have painted with me quite a while, you know it's a journey, not a race. And that's why this painting is not looking like a masterpiece yet, because it has to dry and I have to put another coat on it. And I'm teaching this quickly. So again, I hope you watch this first and then go back and do your painting. So if you did that technique, you would have already painted this in brown. Because if you would have watched the video first, you would have noticed that I made that mistake. All right, so quick fix, right? But since I already have brown, I'm going to put another coat on her face. And you'll see what difference it makes when you put that second coat. The first coat got sucked in pretty much. So put the second coat of paint on there and you'll start achieving the look that you want. And you do want to kind of make the brush strokes go all in the same direction if possible, which mine I'm doing long vertical brush strokes. I'm trying not to lose her nose. I can still see her nose in there. Don't lose your nose unless you're confident in drawing it in. And I'm not going to do everything, but you should do everything a second coat if you don't have the desired look that you want, okay? I'll do a forehead again. I'm trying to go all in the same direction with the brush strokes, which in her forehead I'm doing horizontal brush strokes. All right, so we're 20 minutes into the painting. I'm not going to show you how to paint the bracelets. You can design your bracelets any kind of way you want, and I think using the reference photo you can have fun with that. I do want to show you more with the glasses. I got a little drippy spot going on in my glasses up here, so I'm going to fix that by just using my paper towel to catch it just a little bit. All right, so, and I'm also going to fix my lip at this point because that brown paint, that white paint that I put down there is dry. So I'm fixing my lip. I want to show you about the hair. So after this, you can add all the fun colors. Like we're going to move to blue. Paint the blue bracelet. Paint the dark blue bracelet. The dark blue bracelet. Paint your bracelets. This is gray right here on our ring. Design the jewelry any way you want or follow my pattern. I think they're pretty self-explanatory once you start moving it into them. The blue paint I'm going to use, if you want your glasses to look a lot like mine, we're going to use blue on the bridge, the aqua blue on the bridge of the glasses. And put it in quite a few places. I have lots of blue in mine. And I'm trying not to well, I can overlap a little bit now because that first coat is dry. Because you want all the colors to stand out. You don't want them to blend in with each other, right? So really look at the glasses. There's a lot of colors going on in there. So I want blue. I can look at all my colors and make sure I've used them all in the glasses. The first layer should be dry, so if you go over them a little bit, it's okay. And just have fun. And let the color dry. Once you put it down, let it dry a little bit. All right, before you go to the next color. And I'm looking at the glasses too. There's dark brown in there, dark green. And I don't have dark green in my kit. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of blue. I'm gonna mix, if you don't have dark green, mix a little bit of blue and green and get dark green and add that color to the glasses. Let's move on to black. There's two areas that I want to do the black with, and I just love this number 8 brush, so I'm just wiping it off. I'm swishing it around in my water. I'm going to go into the black paint. I'm also going to grab my number 5 brush, which the number 5 is good for detailing too. And I'm going to put the little pupil in the eye. So you might want to take a look at the placement with your reference photo and try to make it as small as possible, as round as possible. You might have to lay it on your canvas, your canvas on your table, or get it real close to you. And I want to finish the effect on the eye, so I'm just going to wipe my brush off real quick, that skinny brush, and I'm going to go into the white paint because I want to show you this. And I want to lightly put the reflection points in the eyes. And I'm using my reference photo because I don't usually do eyes. So this was hard for me. So I think the placement of the reflection point is important. So make sure you look at the reference photo. Now, if you got some brown in her eyes, you can, brown inside the white of the eyes, you can actually paint that, of course. And I want to get into the hair. I'm using my number 8 brush and I'm filling in the hair. And the number 8 brush is also a little bit rounded. And when you do her hair, don't forget that fingernail right there, because I didn't paint her fingernails. Make sure you paint the fingernail. I don't want the fingernail to be white, black. Painting around the glasses. I'm painting around her hairline. I have so many critical things to tell you about the hair. I did this paint party already. I did this painting already in a paint party. And some people's froze were just like a little bit off. And I want to tell you what the important thing is. Like, if you could grab a Q-tip, Q-tips are fun to work with the hair if you really like the hair on this painting. Basically, I'm just getting all the black paint down first. And then I'm just going to tap my brush. And I like this round number 8 brush. It has a rounded tip. It's not square. So it's easy to get the effect of the afro. So the trick with the afro is that you want to have texture in it. How do you see the texture in the afro? First of all, paint it all black, just like this. Paint it in black, just like that. Then you're going to take your brush, and I'm just tapping along the edge of the afro, but I'm also tapping outside of the regular pattern of the afro. Okay, so look how I'm doing that. Tap, 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 so that I see texture. Tap, 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 tap along the edges. Kind of go out a little bit and back in. Fill it so it doesn't look silly. We don't want it to look like the Statue of Liberty, right? With all these points going out. So once you do it, fill in the gaps by making it make sense, right? So even if you do a whole bunch of going out like this, then fill it in. Fill it in, fill it in. Have fun with it. Maybe get a Q-tip too, like I said before. And when you're tapping, I want you to tap along the hairline a little bit. All right, just a little bit. That was too much. It's a journey with the afro, okay? It's a journey. So take your time and work on the afro. Okay, so we were talking about the hair. The hair. So a little bit of dark gray paint and a little bit of black paint. Tapping our brush, the number 8 brush, along the edges. Or you might even want to play around with a Q-tip too. Will help you get the textured look. I think it's really important to tap inside the afro. And if you get a little bit too much of the gray and you don't want it so gray, because we don't want her to look like a middle-aged lady, we just want it to look like texture, right? So once her hair is dry, so you could take a blow dryer or you could work on another part of the painting, but once her hair is dry is when you want to go back into the hair with the light blue color. If you have this color, it's Caribbean blue or teal, you're going to use this color. If you don't have this color, you're going to lighten up your blue that looks like this. You're going to lighten it up with a little bit of white paint. And we want to get that swirling, curling effect in her hair. So again, it needs to be dry. And then I tell people to kind of just think of like the letter C. And you're going to just do a C that way and then do a C that way. So you just kind of do some quick brush strokes. And if the quick brush stroke thing doesn't resonate with you, just do C's. Just think of the letter C, okay? And every once in a while, we're going to get a full swirl, like all the way around, like in the middle of her hair or somewhere. But every once in a while, we do want to do a full swirl, okay? This is dried a little bit since I painted it on this side. So you do want it to be dry before you put the little swirls in her hair. The last step that you're going to do, the last step is the white, like doing the white around her earrings. If you look at the reference photo, there's a few white brush strokes here and there for highlighting, okay? This painting, of course, is not done, but I think you can figure out how to do the bracelets. If you want to also add those little rib lines into her sweater, that's a critical point too. We already painted that, but if you want to go back in, you can mix your orange with a little bit of red paint if you have red, and get more defining lines for her sweater, okay? So you can mix a little bit of red with your orange to get more definition in like the sweater area, and do that with one of your thin brushes, okay? I think that's about it. You have all the tools you need to complete this painting. Good night, everybody. Good day, good evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.